y más honrado con esta presencia de una leyenda de las voces en anime. Así que un fuerte aplauso.
Gracias.
Yes. So you're the man.
Hello. Okay, I have to ask, how many of you were here 10 years ago when I was a guest here for the very first time? Yes, oh, and she brought a picture. Vivian, right?
Yeah,
See,
wow.
my mind is not gone yet.
Wow.
Yes, I've been wanting to come back and visit you for a very long time, and I'm so happy to be with you here. Thank you for coming, too, by the way. Thank you. It's going to be a great weekend, I'm sure of it. And I was getting crazy there watching some of those videos. Like the Broly movie, of course, is just yell, yell, fight, fight. I have to tell you something funny. As I was watching that, I was reminded when I was speaking to Funimation about the new movie, before I recorded it, before I had even seen it, I said to them, so, you know, how many times does he say Kakarot? And they said, you know what? He never says it. And I was like, really? Sweet, well then what's he gonna say? And they said, well, you'll be interested in knowing he has 25 speaking lines and 500 fight noises. So even now, he's a man of few words, but lots of action. So I am so happy to be here with you guys. I am not typically a sit behind a desk at the, on stage kind of a guy. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna come down there with you, okay?
Yeah,
oh, great. Good, see, this is more my side. And this camera's like...
Yeah.
It's like, this camera's not gonna work. He just ran off stage. Stupid Vic. You guys, first of all, let me just do real quick a little bit of kind of housekeeping. Just things that I want to make sure and tell you. And if you haven't seen this girl's shirt, I've already sent it to 5 of my friends. It's a Rin Matsuoka shirt from the swimming pool. That was really great. And her mom made it. What was that? For those of you that don't know, or maybe just got kind of dragged into the room, my name is Vic Mignogna. It's the easiest thing, especially here, it's like tomorrow, it's Spanish. Mañana. Every time somebody says, how do you say that name? I'm like, tomorrow in Spanish. Mañana? Yes! Perfect. I've been voice acting for almost 20 years. I've done over 300 different animated series and video games, and I also executive produce and am the main character in my lifelong passion project, Star Trek Continues. If you guys have any love at all, or kind of just an affection for the classic Star Trek in the late 60s, or if you don't, but your dad does, or your mom, or your uncle, or your school teacher, tell them about Star Trek Continues. It picks up, it's a live action web series, and I'm the exec producer, and I get to fulfill my childhood dream of playing Captain Kirk.
Yes.
And it starts right where the original Star Trek was canceled, and then it ends, it finishes. Okay, who can tell me what Captain Kirk said at the beginning of every show? Space, the final frontier, right? These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. It's 5-year mission. They were canceled in their 3rd season of television. They didn't finish the 5-year mission. And the next time you saw Captain Kirk or Mr. Spock or Dr. McCoy was 10 years later in Star Trek the Motion Picture. in 1977. Excuse me, 79. They were canceled in 69. They came back with the movie in 79, but by then, Captain Kirk had become like an admiral at Starfleet. He wasn't even the captain of the Enterprise anymore. Spock had gone back to his own planet of Vulcan. Everybody had kind of gone their own separate ways. So my idea was, let's pick up right where the original series was canceled and finish the 5-year mission of the Enterprise. Return it to Earth and craft a beautiful story that explains why everyone was where they were when the motion picture picks them up. So we have 11 full-length episodes, hour-long, beautiful, beautiful episodes that are just like the original Star Trek in every way. It's as if it was never canceled. Most people say, oh my gosh, after 10 minutes, I felt like I was watching episodes that were locked in a vault for 50 years somewhere. And so check it out, StarTrekContinues.com. And here's the best part. It's free. Oh, turn that off. Turn that up there. Did you do that?
Sorry.
It's free to watch because it's my gift to Star Trek. My love for please check it out, okay? It's a lot of fun. All of it is great. And leaves everybody right where the motion picture begins. So it's a really great filler between the series and the movies. Let's see, I also just finished an audiobook. I promised myself I would never do an audiobook. For years, all of my voice acting friends have told me, hey Vic, if anyone ever asks you to do an audiobook, don't. Because they're so time-consuming and tedious, and they just don't tend to pay a lot. So it's really not worth the huge amount of time investment. So I made a mental note, right, don't do audiobooks, got it, never gonna do one. So this publishing company contacts me and says, hey, we'd like you to do an audiobook. And I'm thinking, nope, I promised I wouldn't and I won't. And then they said the name of the book is These Are the Voyages, and it's about the original Star Trek series.
Wow.
Great. So you caught me at my weakest point. The only thing I would ever do an audiobook on is the original Star Trek series. Let me tell you guys something. It's the coolest thing too. Can I just take 1 minute and tell you? Everybody knows like what Star Trek is. I mean, even if you're not a fan, you know Star Trek. You know the uniforms, you know Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, and you've probably seen a lot of the episodes, this one or that one about this thing or that thing. But this book is about the making of the show. It's fascinating to find out, to coin a phrase, it's fascinating to find out all of the challenges that they had in making this show. You don't even realize some of the things, a lot of the things, that they were fighting to try to get these shows that we all know, like iconic moments in television and images. I'm going to tell you one, for instance, I love this kind of stuff so much. Everybody on planet Earth knows what I mean when I say I'm beaming down, right? Beam me up. You're talking about the transporter from Star Trek, right? Beaming up and beaming down, right? It's part of the entire vernacular of the whole world. Everybody knows what beaming up and beaming down means, right? When they were creating Star Trek, I'm talking about Gene Roddenberry and Bob Justman and the people that were building this show when there was no show. And there was no such thing as a transporter or a communicator or phasers, things that we think of now, part of our whole world culture. Everybody, anywhere you go, knows those things. When these men were creating the series, do you know how they came up with the idea for the transport? It's a pretty cool idea, isn't it? Beaming up and beaming down. And I don't know if you know this, but scientists are now like literally experimenting with turning physical objects into matter or into energy and moving them somewhere and reassembling them. Exactly like what the transporter did. Do you know how they came up with that idea? Gosh, I love this kind of stuff. Have you ever heard the term, necessity is the mother of invention? You heard that phrase? It basically means you need to figure out something and you invent something amazing purely because you had to come up with something. As they were starting to build this show and trying to decide how they were going to do it and what things were going to look like, they came across a big problem, and that was the budget. To shoot a show like this costs a lot of money, even in the late 60s. And the Enterprise, right, where everybody is on the ship, they realized that it would cost way too much money for the ship to land on a planet every week. It would cost too much money in special effects to try to shoot the ship landing on a new planet. It was financially impossible. They came up with the idea of the transporter so they could get down to the planet, back up and down from the ship without having to land the ship every week. Isn't that amazing? And now it's part of the planet Earth. I love that kind of stuff, you know? Phaser actually stands for something. Did you guys know that they're like flip phones? That's a communicator, y'all. You get that, right? 60 years ago, Gene Roddenberry went to research and development companies and said, what do you project for the future? What are some of the things you project we might have? Like a computer that sits on your desk. Do you guys realize that when they came up with that idea, computers fit in this room? There was no such thing as home computers or a laptop. But they had them on the Enterprise. Tricorder that does all kinds of things. And the sick bay, when you would lay down on the bed and the thing over their heads would go boom, boom, and it would read their vitals. They have that now. It's just, communicators. Cell phones are basically communicators, and even the first cell phones had a little flip. You lift the lid open. Yeah, and you know what it is? Yeah, oh my goodness. And a lot of the people that have even developed these things were Star Trek fans when they were kids. So then they go into science because of Mr. Spock, right? Or because of that show, and they figure out ways to develop these fantastic ideas that were commonplace in Star Trek. I love it. And so this book, These Are the Voyages, is literally about the making of the original series. Literally each chapter is about a different episode. And talks about who wrote it, and the problems they had writing it, and the fights that they had about it, and the network, and the arguments with the network, and the guest stars being a pain in the butt, and somebody getting sick and having to do this, and falling behind schedule, and cost too much, and Lucille Ball saving the show. You guys, anybody know who, most of you, do you know who Lucy is? Lucille Ball, I Love Lucy, right? Did you know that she and her, I'm sorry, I know you're like, this is supposed to be an anime Q&A. Okay, let me just tell you this, Number. I promise not to talk about Star Trek anymore, unless somebody asks me a question. Lucille Ball and her husband, Desi Arnaz, at the time, bought a movie studio. There was an old movie studio called RKO Pictures, and they were going out of business. And Desi and Lucy decided they were going to start their own studio. And they bought it and they called it Desilu. And then they divorced. And they divorced, and Lucy kept the studio. Can you see it in your mind? So now here's Lucille Ball, her husband and she have broken up, and she's got this movie studio, TV studio, and she wants to make good. So she says to her board of directors, go find me some really cool, out-of-the-box, never been done before TV show ideas. Because at the time, you guys, most television shows were two things. A Western or a cop show. Now, Lucy wanted to break the mold. She wanted to come up with something new. And her people brought her two shows. Mission Impossible and Star Trek.
Yes. Oh my God.
When they pitched Star Trek to her, you know what her board of directors told her? Lucy, don't make this show. it will bankrupt your studio. It's going to be way too expensive. It'll bankrupt your studio. Because think about it, guys. If we were to make a cop show, well, I mean, we wear normal clothes. And we drive around the city, right? And we are wearing cop cars and guns. Things that already exist in everyday life. But Star Trek, not only is it a completely different setting, right? A futuristic setting where everything needs to be made, right? But think about it. Every week they go to a different planet. Or they meet a new alien. Or the alien, there's a new ship. Spaceship. All of those things had to be built. Every week they had new characters and makeup and special effects. Cop shows don't need special effects. Think about it. Westerns don't need special effects. They build a Western town, they shoot the TV show every week. But with Star Trek, phasers, the ship flying by, force fields, any number of hundreds of different effects. In fact, they fell behind, and you'll find this out in the audiobook if you listen to it. They fell behind in their schedule because the special effects company could not keep up. Because guess what? No one had ever done a laser beam before like that. No one had ever, what the heck does beaming up look like? Really, think about it. So if I tell you, okay, they're gonna stand on this platform and then they're gonna disappear. Well, what is it gonna look like? Are they just gonna pop away, like Bewitched or something, just gone? No, we want them to like fizzle away or sparkle away. Somebody had to create that idea. And they didn't have computers. There's an episode where this guy is shooting a lightning bolt out of his finger at the Enterprise. Do you know what the lightning bolt was? They scratched the film. I want you to think about this a minute. Today, you would do it on your computer, right? You would bring in the film that you shot of the guy standing there doing this, stop! And there's nothing there, just him standing there pointing his finger. And then you import that film, in that video, into your laptop, and then you just drag in a lightning bolt effect. And you line it up with his finger, and boom, you're done. There were no computers, there's nothing like that. So these poor special effects guys get this script that says he shoots lightning bolt out of his finger, and they're like, what? Oh crap. How do we even do that? How do you do it? What they did was they took the physical film and imagine taking like a needle and going and scratching the emulsion off of every frame so it looks like this bright white, flickering lightning bolt. Anyway, back to the Lucille Ball story. So they told her, don't make this show. It'll bankrupt your studio, and she did it anyway. And Star Trek was very popular, but it cost way too much. And they ended up canceling it because it was too expensive. And it did bankrupt Lucy's studio. That's the kind of behind-the-scenes, really fascinating stuff that you'll hear about in this book. So check it out. Also, a lot of you guys wrote me and asked me if I was going to be bringing my music CDs or my concert DVD with me. I have them down at the table downstairs, and I would love for you to have them. They're down there, and be happy to sign them. I have to tell you, the concert DVD is really a great... Does anybody here have my concert DVD? Yeah, I know. It's a really, really great concert, live music concert. For those of you that don't know, I've been writing and singing and playing the piano and producing music twice as long as I've been voice acting. Don't do the math. Don't think about how long that is now. But I did this live concert at a convention, and we videotaped it, and it's a big, beautiful concert with great audience and colored lights and fog machines and those cool cameras that boom down over the audience. So a great concert. Dolby 5.1 mix, songs from Full Metal, or in high school, D and Angel, Dragon Ball Z. But there's also something on the concert DVD that I have to tell you about. She's gonna find out. Back when we were recording Full Metal Alchemist, I was loving that show so much that I wanted to cosplay as Edward. I know. I know what you're thinking. You're way too tall. And you're right. But I started coming up with an idea whereas a grown man could start turning into an anime character. And then I thought, man, I think I've ever seen any voice actors cosplay as their characters. So I asked some of the other voice actors from Full Metal if they wanted to do something fun with me, and they agreed. So we got together one weekend in Houston, Texas, and we made something called Full Metal Fantasy. It's basically voice actors cosplaying as their characters from Full Metal. And it's a fun movie. It's never been available until now. It's on the DVD because I would show it at my concerts. I would do a live music concert and I would show it on the screen, and then I would come out after it was over and I would sit at the piano and I would play and sing the Brothers theme from Full Metal. You guys know that song? How can I repay you, brother mine? And so it's on the concert DVD as well. So I've got all that stuff downstairs. I hope you'll come down as soon as we're done here. I'll be heading back down to the autograph table, and I hope you'll come and see me if you haven't already, and even if you have, come back. Okay? And then hopefully tomorrow and Sunday, we'll have just a whole bunch of great fans here, anime fans, and it's going to be an awesome weekend. I'm so excited to be here. So, who's got a question to start us off? Does anybody have a question you want to ask? Yes.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask. I know that you're a voice actor for Rohan Sensei from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Bizarre is the operative word there. It is so funny. Oh my, that's amazing. I love Rohan. I love playing him.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask. Will you be portraying as Rohan Sensei from the other OVAs of Dusko Kishibe Rohan?
What?
You know what? If they're dubbed, I certainly hope so. I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't. Have they been? But have they been dubbed in English? Yeah. See, I don't know. See, that's up to the studios. At the end of the day, I'm just a poor actor. Honestly, I just, you know what I mean? I hope to get the chance to play characters. I just play characters. I mean, I don't get to write shows really, except Star Trek. But I promise we wouldn't talk about that anymore. But when it comes to anime, if I get cast in a show, I go and I do my best with the character. But companies buy the rights to dub a show into English, and then they translate it into English, and then they cast people and do all the recording and mixing and release it in English. So I hope so. If there is more Rohan, I better be playing him, or someone will die. Could be me. Yes, I hope so. Question? Yes, sir.
First of all, pleasure to meet you.
It is a pleasure to meet you, sir. What's your name?
My name is Raymond.
Raymond? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Everybody say hi to Ray.
Hi, Raymond.
What's your question, sir?
My question is, you have been not only an actor, but a voice actor for many years, and you have worked on many projects over the years. As you grow and you learn how to manage things in your life, for a person that's young like me, I'm 21 years old, and I'm going to college, would you give any advice on the straight path, on where to start? Or how
I love this question, Raymond. I do, because something that has meant so much to me over the years that I've been doing this has been perhaps the most important thing to me, has been to be a positive encouragement to people. To help people through difficult times in their lives, or challenges, or loss, or illness, or difficulties. It's been my greatest privilege. So I appreciate you asking that. I will tell you this, right? When I was 21, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And here's the most important thing I want to say to you. Don't stress about it. Don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. I'm 21, what am I gonna do? Don't put yourself under that kind of pressure. Pursue the things you love. Find things that you enjoy, that you feel like you're good at, and become excellent at them. Walk through doors that open for you. Take opportunities that are presented to you. I never planned to be a voice actor. I spent the last 20 years doing this, and it was never part of my plan. I just loved acting, and I would take any opportunity to do it. And it had zero to do with money. If my church was doing a play, I want to be in it. If my school was doing a play, I'm auditioning for that. If there's a community theater, I'm auditioning for that. I was always looking for any opportunity to develop my skills in the areas of things that I loved, whether it was singing, music, or acting, or anything, graphic design, playing piano, whatever. But when I was 21, let me think, where was I when I was 21? In college, and I was majoring in film, and I had no idea why, except that I liked making film. When I was a little boy, my parents, by the way, when I say when I was a little boy, I'm talking about like early 70s, and there were no video cameras. If you were lucky, you had a home movie camera, an 8mm or Super 8mm movie camera, a little tiny consumer level movie camera. And my parents had one, and I would round the kids in the neighborhood up and make little movies where I was the director and I would make Star Trek movies. I promised I wouldn't talk about it anymore. But he asked the question. Where I would play Captain Kirk. And I would literally hang models, I would build models, and then I would hang them in front of a poster, a black poster board, and I would run past them with the camera to make it look like the ship was flying by. And then I would build little cardboard sets out in the woods behind my apartment building. And I would make my own uniforms. And then I would make the kids in the neighborhood wear the uniforms that I made. So when I got to college, I'm like, well, I like making movies. I'm going to major in film. And I would act and stuff, but I never imagined where it would all go. One of the biggest things I hear from young people nowadays is, I don't know what I'm going to do. And they get themselves worked up and stressed out about it. Don't stress. The opportunities are going to present themselves. You get the best education you can. And work really hard at perfecting the abilities that God has given you. You know what they are. All of you know right now, as I'm talking about this, there's something in your mind, you're like, this is, I'm good at that, or I'm really good at that, or I would love to work in that. I would love to become proficient at that, or this. Whatever that is for you, pursue it and get good at it. And I have always been, especially at my age now, as I've looked back at my year, at my life, and how things have taken me from place to place and thing to thing, I would have never imagined that I would be, that some of the things would happen that have happened. But the best thing I could say to you is take every opportunity you're given, develop your skills to the best of your ability, and don't stress out.
Thank you.
Okay? I mean, I hear people that are like, somebody said to me the other day, I'm such and such an age, and I still live with my parents. I'm like, okay, don't beat yourself up about that. You know what I mean? There's no standard. You know what I mean? There's no magic number that you should have achieved this much by this age. And that's important for all of you to know. Just because your friends got married and have babies doesn't mean, oh, I should have been married and had babies by now. No, because your life is your life. Your life is your path. There is no set standard that everybody is supposed to adhere to. Okay? So you guys don't stress out. Don't lose sleep. Don't beat yourselves up that you're supposed to be here and you're only here. Don't do that. All you're doing is robbing yourself of joy. Things are going to be what they're supposed to be, and if you're ready, the things that you can control. What can you control? You can control how much you pay attention in school. You can control whether or not you develop your talents and your skills, right? You control that. So the things that you can control, you do your best at. And then the things that you cannot control will happen in their own time and in their own speed, and you'll be ready when they are. I want that for all of you. I genuinely do. Thank you for the question. Great. Hi.
Angelique.
Hello, Angelique. Angelique was surprised that I knew how to spell her name. They went to school. What's your question?
I'm study acting actually in theater, and what advice would you give to someone who wants to do voice acting? It's always been like one of my dreams originally to study.
I'm glad you asked. That's a great question because I'm sure there are plenty of people in here that are interested in voice acting. How would I get started in that? Well, I have to tell you, things are very different now than they were when I started. When I started, anime was very small. It was kind of this little niche kind of thing. And there weren't a lot of people doing it, and so I was encouraged to audition for this studio in Houston, where we did, not that guy, but where we did Street Fighter. That was the first, I saw that on the screen, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was losing it. Because that's the first thing I ever did, almost 20 years ago, Street Fighter 2. But when I got started, it was just this little company that literally had this little studio that was probably the size of this stage. And they bought some recording equipment, and they got permission from some Japanese studios to dub some anime series, and they did. They hired actors that worked and lived in Houston, and I was one of them. But if you're interested in voice acting, I used to say there were two things that you need to do, and I've decided now there are three. Number one, acting. Acting is the main word in voice acting. It's not voice. You could have a really cool voice, but if you can't act, if you can't communicate the emotion of a scene or a character, then it doesn't matter how great a voice you have. Acting, acting, acting. Most every voice actor I know has lots of background and experience in theater, in acting. And then somebody offered them the chance to voice act, and like, well, voice acting is acting, and I love acting. Sure, I'll try that, because they love acting. That's how I did it. I never had any illusions about being a voice actor, but I loved acting. So when somebody said, hey, you should audition as a voice actor, all I heard was actor. Like, okay. That's the first thing. Get as much experience as you can. Church plays, community theaters, school productions, anywhere you can. The second thing is location. You have to be where that kind of work is done. As with any job, right? If you dream of being a country western singer, where should you live? Nashville, Tennessee, country music capital of the world, probably. You know what I mean? Or maybe Austin, Texas, or a couple of, at least a handful of places where that kind of work is more predominant, right? You could be the greatest voice actors ever, but if you don't live somewhere where there are opportunities to voice act, it really doesn't matter, right? That would be like Los Angeles, and New York, and Houston, and Dallas, and Vancouver, and a little bit in Toronto. There are a handful of places, but not many. I normally used to say those were the two things, acting experience and location. But I've added a third one, and the third one may be the most important. And I never talked about it until I thought about it a couple of years ago as someone asked me this question, and I thought, wow, that third thing is probably the first thing. And that thing is determination. How many of you guys know what the word tenacity means? Do you know what it means to be tenacious? It means you don't give up easily. It means that you keep trying at something and you don't get discouraged easily. Almost every field of any creative endeavor has one big problem. There are thousands of people that want to do it. Right? And often it comes down to who wants it most. We've all watched plenty of television shows where we've seen somebody on the show and you're like, how did that person get cast? They're horrible. We've heard songs on the radio where you're listening to somebody and you're like, dang, they're not that good a singer. How'd they get a record contract, right? Or a movie. Those people got opportunities because they just didn't give up. They just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. If you get discouraged easily, then a creative field like acting or singing or dancing or whatever is not for you. Because there is much more rejection than there is accepting. You get rejected a lot more than you get cast. So it's that kind of tenacity that will serve you really, really well. You might not even be, I'm not the greatest voice actor in the world, but I got an opportunity and I did the best I could with it, right? And keep auditioning for things and you hope you get to work. I make no illusion that I'm the greatest voice actor. There are probably people in here that are better than me, you know? But I got an opportunity, I did the best I could with it. So my point is, it's not always the most talented people that get the job. It's the people that don't give up. I knew somebody once who auditioned for a TV show and they nailed it. They told me, I nailed this thing. I totally should get this. And they didn't get cast. And they were heartbroken about it. And then they found out from their agent who booked them to go to the audition. Do you know why they didn't get cast? Because they had red hair, and the producer just broke up with his girlfriend who had red hair. Now, do you see my point? A lot of times it has zero to do with any talent you have or don't have. Guy might have had a bad burrito at lunch. For all you know, right? He could have had you know what I mean? He could have had lunch that didn't sit well with him. And you came into audition, he's like, oh my God, my stomach, I want out of here. He's not even paying attention to you. You spent 3 weeks preparing for this audition, and he just wants out of the room. He just needs to head to the bathroom. So, point is, it's not always the most talented people that get the opportunities. It's the people that just don't give up easily. Question? Yes, my dear. Vivian? Fine. It's been 20 years. Oh, excuse me, 10. Feels like 20.
So like,
come on, see now she can't be a voice actor. I put the mic in her, she goes, I promise it won't bite you. He might. This will not.
I first saw you I heard you in anime, like the Angel, Homero, and Yu Yu Hakusho when you
Oh
did,
my
like,
goodness, yes.
the you are Rishima.
Yes.
So like, how have you as a voice actor you feel you've changed from back then in the early 90s to now?
Wow. Oh, I love it when it's nice and loud like that. Thank you. When I started voice acting, I had no idea what I was doing. I loved acting. But you know, if you're a stage actor, right? If you're a stage actor, you have many ways to communicate. You have many, many tools at your disposal to communicate your character, right? I could walk on the stage and purely from the way I walk, I don't have to say a word. You'd be like, oh, this guy's arrogant. That's an arrogant character, right? Or the way I stand, my body language, my position, my posture. you as the audience would be getting information about the person, the character that you're watching on stage. Or my costume. What am I wearing? Or my facial expressions. I don't have to say a word, but as an actor on stage, I could communicate a great deal to you about who I am without ever speaking a word. But with voice acting, you don't have any of that. All you have are whatever sounds come out of your mouth. And so when I started, I don't think I fully understood that. And so I think over the years, I developed a better understanding of what I needed to do to communicate through my voice, as opposed to, you know, the other ways that an actor would be able to communicate. I've grown a lot. It would be interesting to go back and watch some early things and think, oh my gosh. Because, you know, it was a new thing. It was really strange. It's strange to see your voice come out of an animated character's mouth. I still find it weird sometimes. And there'll be certain things that I'll do and be like, that works really well. I feel like that voice is coming out of that guy. But then there'll be other times I'll be like, that didn't work. That didn't. But I've learned a lot. And I'll give you a nice little example. I started, years ago, looking for anything in the visual that the character was doing that I could incorporate into the way I delivered a line of dialogue. For instance, if my character, let's say Tamaki from Oregon High School, is sitting in his big, comfy, kingly chair at the Post Club, long live the poor. Right? And he's sitting at the chair, he's resting comfortably, and then he's supposed to say a line, and he stands up as he's saying the line, and he says, Haruhi, from now on you're going to be the host club's dog. Okay? Seems pretty straightforward, right? So what I started looking for were physicalizations that I could work into my performance to help connect me to the character on screen. Like this. Haruhi, from now on you're going to be the host club's dog. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Just that little bit of effort sound as I'm getting up. Now, you don't have to do that, right? I'm not getting up, I'm standing in a booth, right, in front of a microphone. But you do things like that to help tie the vocal to the picture. And it's little teeny things like that I think work pretty well. There's a funny story, you've probably all heard the donut story before. When I was playing Edward Elric, there was an episode where, do you remember the episode in the original series with the two brothers that were pretending to be Edward and the other brothers Elric? Yeah, Fletcher and Russell Tringham.
Yeah.
So Ed now come into this town, right? And they're like, oh, who are you? And we're the Full Metal Alchemists. He's like, no, you're not. Those kids are. And Ed gets in a fight with the one kid. You guys remember this?
Yes.
And they're fighting. And the guy punches Ed in the face. Well, in the next scene, Ed's cheek is all swollen up, and he's laying against Alphonse's armor because it's cool and it feels good on. Well, as soon as I saw that scene, I'm like, if my cheek were all puffed up, it might change the way I sound. So I asked if I could run to the vending machine. And I ran to the vending machine room and I bought some of those little tiny donuts. A packet of the 6 powdered sugar donuts. And look at the size, is perfect. And it's puffy. It's not like hard, you know what I mean? It's like Doritos or something. It's puffy. And I stuck one in my cheek and I jumped back into the recording booth and I started recording the lines. And it just very subtly changed the tone of my voice because it made me sound like my cheek was a little, swollen and puffy. You don't have to do that, but it helps to connect with the character. Question? Yes, my dear. Hi, yeah. You probably thought, I'm all the way in the back, he's never gonna call on me. Hi, what's your name? Hello, Nicole. Everybody say hi, Nicole.
Hi,
Hello. What's your question, Commoner?
Out of all the voice characters you've done, which one's your favorite?
Out of all my characters, which one's the favorite? Probably Ed. I love that little pipsqueak. But Tamaki is a very close second place. I love those two are my favorites. And which one was the hardest? Probably, oh my gosh, look. That's the very first episode of the first, oh my gosh, I even know what this is. That's this, oh my gosh.
Cindy knows all we do, acting like you let us see.
What's your strategy, brother?
I need to know. So what's your strategy?
I told you, a fist in his face! Oh my gosh, I love this episode. All right, see you later. Burning out. Okay, burning out. Okay. You know what, Nicole? When people used to ask me that question, I didn't want to answer honestly because I wanted to please them. So for instance, if somebody comes up to me like this sweet girl with her Rin Matsuoka shirt and says, who's your favorite character? I look her over, I'm looking for little signs, right? Little clues, cosplay, necklace, whatever, and I see her shirt and I'm like, oh, sweetheart, I love Rin from Free. And she goes, right? So then somebody else comes up and says, and they're dressed like Yuki from Empire Night, and they're like, who's your favorite character? I'm like, Zero. And Zero loves you. Right? So, that's, I used to do that because I wanted to give you guys a fun experience. If a girl comes up dressed like Ruby and says, who's your favorite character? I'm like, who's your favorite, kiddo? Uncle Crow's my favorite. Let's have a drink. But then something happened, Nicole. When I got to the last page of the last episode of Brotherhood, and I was in the recording studio, and I realized that it was the last page of the last episode. I was kind of, I started getting real emotional, and I thought, oh my gosh, I love this character so much. I love this show, the whole premise of it so much. And after I recorded Ed's final line as he's on the train, talking about there's no such thing as equivalent exchange and heart made full metal, all of that. Oh my God, I love it. After that, I realized that I probably just had to be honest with you as I was honest with myself that full metal was I keep hearing these dead spots. There's one right around here somewhere. Right when I get in the middle here, sometimes it drops out. But I had to admit to myself that Full Metal was my favorite, that he's my favorite. But there's so many, I've had the privilege to do so many great things. I'm very, very blessed. Oh, thank you. All right, let's try this one. It doesn't have as much high end on it. He's gonna open up the high end right now. He's working on the EQ, watch. He's gonna open it up so it gets a little crispier, a little brighter, a little bright. Oh yeah. And he's gonna give me just a little bit more volume, so I don't have to talk as loud. He's matching the levels. Because it's a different channel. The other one was going, there it is. See, I got it right there. Thank you. Question? In the back, yes. You jumped up quick, dude. That was a nice move.
I was wondering, what is your stance on a bridge series on YouTube?
What is my opinion of a bridged series on YouTube? You know what? I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. Live and let live, man. You know, I don't have any problem with people. Do you know why people make a bridge series? Because they love the original, right? That's why you do it, because you love it. Why did I make Star Trek? Because I love Star Trek. You know what I mean? I've been in several little parody movies and films. I did a live action parody on Futurama, where I played Zap Brannigan. And it was delightful. And I even have a picture downstairs. If you come down to the table and you're like, I have to own the Zap Brannigan picture, I will pull it out for you. It's terrifyingly beautiful. And then I did a Deadpool live action called Deadpool the Musical 2. I played Captain America. I did a Fallout parody series called Nuka Break. So my point is, since I was a little boy, right? I told you, Brandon, since I was a little kid, I was making Star Trek movies. I was doing things to express my love and fandom for a particular thing. These bridge series are nothing, they're the same thing. There are people who love Yu-Gi-Oh! Or love Digimon, or love Full Metal, or love Dragon Ball, and they want to feel like they're part of it. So while some people may be like, oh, that's stupid, I'm not for a bridge series. Why? And leave these kids alone. You know, I mean, let them express their enthusiasm about something. You know, I have no problem. In fact, people often tell me, have you seen the 50% off one? About free? I've had 1,000 people tell me that's the funniest thing. They're like, have you seen 50% off? I'm like, I haven't yet, but I will, I promise, because I hear it's really funny. So I'm all for them. I have no problem with them. As long as they're not like dirty. I don't really, you know, I don't personally, I don't appreciate when people take characters, you know, and put them in pervy situations, you know what I mean? Or kind of turn them into something kind of, you know? Yeah. But that's just me. I'm not dissing you. Angelique, if you like that stuff, God bless you. So for me, this is not my cup of tea. And you know what, guys? Can I take a minute to tell you something? People have trashed me over the years. Oh, he's a homophobe. He's homophobic. You know why they say it? Because I'm not a Yowie fan. I'm sorry, guess what? I'm allowed to like what I like too. Yeah, just like you, right? Yeah. I mean, why, you know what? If you like Yowie and I don't, guess what? That's just fine. You don't have to love everything I love. I'm not gonna hate you because you don't love everything I love. I'm not gonna trash you. I'm not gonna get online on stupid social media and tell the world that make up all kinds of names and call you all kinds of names because you don't particularly care for what I care for. Takes me right back to your question, dude. Live and let live, yes. Right? Yes. If you like subs, don't trash people who like dubs. You know what I mean? If you like dubs, don't trash people who like subs. Allow people to like what they like. You know where that comes from? It's insecurity, people. Yep. It's people that are insecure and they want you to like everything they like, and if you don't, you're evil. And you must be destroyed. The sad reality is there are people like that in the world. If you don't agree with every single thing they think, you must be destroyed. That's terrifying. And I gotta tell you guys something. Social media has really contributed to that. Because it allows people to sit in the comfort of their homes behind their screen name, so you don't even know who they are. You don't know where they live, and they can sit on their bed at a little computer and destroy you from 5,000 miles away. And they don't need any substance, They don't need any kind of accountability. They can say whatever they want. That's terrifying. And nobody's safe. If Angelique had a best friend and Angelique inadvertently, accidentally did something that hurt her best friend's feelings, and her best friend goes back to Facebook or freaking Twitter and you know what I mean, or Instagram or name it, whatever, and starts talking about what a horrible person she is, and then even makes up stuff because she's so mad. Well, now suddenly poor Angelique is fighting for her life because she upset somebody and didn't even mean to. Which brings me to this. You guys, please be voices for good. There are way too many people in the world that just have too much time on their hands, and they're unhappy with their lives, or they're unhappy with themselves, or they want something they don't have, or they don't like that you have something they don't. Or they're just disgruntled, and they're looking for something to be offended about. They're looking for something to be outraged about. There are those people, and you know what? I firmly believe, I believe with all of my heart, that there are many more good people in the world than there are those kind of people. Unfortunately, the good people are usually silent. Like the good people are good people. They go about their lives and they have friends, you know what I mean? And they do their jobs and they have fun with their friends. And they don't, they don't really get into that kind of stuff. But I want to encourage you guys to be a voice for good. Wherever you can, in your own circle, look for places to be a positive influence. To say something encouraging, to say something nice, to help somebody. Be positive, be a light, okay? Let's try to do that, because there are a lot more of you than there are of the negative people, okay? Am I out of time? Am I really? I have 4 minutes, right? Okay, good. So, was that too preachy? I hope you guys don't mind, because that's important stuff, you know what I mean?
Don't worry.
And this is the world we live in, guys. This stuff happens. So, yes, my dear. Hi. I love your shirt. You are Toby.
It's one of my favorites.
I love it. What's your name?
Alana.
Hi, Alana. Yes. What's your question?
I wanted to ask you, you've been in the voice acting industry for more than 20 years. I wanted to know, which would you consider has been your most challenging role as a voice actor? Which character has been the most challenging for you?
Emotionally challenging or physically challenging?
Both.
Well, probably Ed's been the most emotionally challenging. But I wouldn't even, when you say challenging, you almost think negative, you know what I mean? Like it was hard. It wasn't hard, it was awesome. Because if you're an actor, you want to play those roles, right? If you're an actor, you want to play roles that are emotional and that move you, right? And that require you to just let it all out, right? It doesn't require, I'm playing, this character that I'm playing is a man who sits on a bench and reads a newspaper all day. Well, that's not going to require much, is it? But when you start talking about a little kid whose dad left them when they were young, and then his mom dies, and then he and his brother try something stupid that they shouldn't have tried, but they miss their mom, and he almost loses his brother and loses his own arm and leg. Now you're talking serious, right? And then they try to go out and find a philosopher's stone to be able to get their bodies back. I mean, that's challenging. What does it feel like to have your arm ripped from your body? I don't know. Do any of you? So how do you portray that? See what I'm saying? That's emotionally challenging. And some of the scenes in Full Metal were very emotionally charged. I was in tears a lot during that show, genuinely. Physically challenging, Broly. for the reasons we've already discussed. Remember 25 and 500? Remember that part? And then I also played a character in Digimon. I played Matt in Digimon. But then there was an episode of Digimon Tri where there was this character named Mad Leomon. And he was a giant lion robo kind of a thing. A mecha kind of a thing. Lion. And he made Broly look like a 10-year-old kid. Like he was, Matt Leomon was, I mean, he was really physically taxing on the voice and the throat. Thank goodness that he died quick. Broly will never die, but Matt Leomon only had a handful of, lines and yells and screams and fighting, and then he was gone. But I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I couldn't have done that for very long.
1 minute.
1 minute! Last question. I think I remember your name. Is it Nancy?
Yeah.
People think I'm going senile.
I wanted to ask, what's like your weirdest fan encounter?
Weirdest fan? You know what? I have not had a lot of weird fan encounters. I often hear other voice actors talk about weird fan encounters. I'm like, wow, you get the weirdos, don't you? Because I've not really had any of those. Many years ago, and this story is well documented, so if you've heard it, I'm sorry. But many years ago, Many years ago, I was at a convention in Corpus Christi, Texas. And we finished the panel, and I was talking to somebody up at the stage like this, and there were a group of kids in the back corner. And then I kind of noticed out of the corner of my eye, one of them, a girl from the group, came walking up. And she tapped me on the shoulder, and I said, hi. And she said, can I ask a question? I said, sure. And she said, can I lick your hand? And I'm like, ooh, no. Oh, sweetheart, no. And she started crying. And I was like, oh, God. Right? Now, this is the kind of thing social media would have a field day with, right? Vic Mignogna makes fans cry! And I'm like, sweetie, please stop. What's right here? Here, take my wallet. Stop crying, right? And I was like, what's wrong? And she said, she pointed back to her friends, and her friends were back in the corner like this. And she's like, my friends, she said, I bet my friends all of my money that I had that you would let me because you're so nice to your fans. I told them you would do it, and I lost my money. She went for it. She went for it.
Yes.
Okay, now here's the fun little cherry on top of that story. Like 10 years later, 15 years maybe, I'm at a convention, and a girl walks up to my autograph table and goes, hi, remember me? And I'm like, no. She's like, I met you at a convention 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, sweetheart, that was 100,000 people ago for me. No, and she goes, let me give you a hint. I was like, it's you! And she's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry that I did that. It was really weird and everything. But, so in all the years and the hundreds of thousands of people, that may be the one weirdest fan experience I've had. It's hard to top that. Please don't try. Thank you guys so much. Come down and see me downstairs.